So, guys, today I'm just going to talk about yesterday's card in the UK. It was a intriguing card from top to bottom. A lot of fascinating things happened, and just discuss it in a fair few amount of videos. Today, in this one, we're going to talk about George Groves versus David Brophy and Lee Selby versus Eric Hunter. First fight, George Groves. There was a co-main event just before the Anthony Joshua fight. And I mean, George Groves came out well, really well, established a jab, peppered David Brophy, hurt him in the first round. And for me, David Brophy came out, looked like he wanted to survive. He didn't really. He didn't really want to engage at first and try and just sit back and take George Groves into deeper waters and try and test the stamina of his chin. Um, we all know David Brophy was undefeated, or some of us know that he was undefeated, but he had one KO, so I don't think necessarily had the skill set, one, and the power, two, to actually trouble George Groves. I did suggest George Groves would actually stop him, so I was correct on that. But George Groves looks really, really good on the back of his last two performances with Shane McGuigan. He looks a fantastic and frightening opponent at 168. I'd like to see him in again with a fringe world level opponent. See where he really, really ranks. If the guy can take him 12 rounds, I know they're talking about Martin Murray next. That would be a good fight. I'm still skeptical as to whether that fight is actually going to happen. I know Martin Murray is actually fighting on the Andy Crawler Ismail Barroso undercard. So that could it could potentially happen in the summer later in maybe July time, August time, but we don't know. We don't know yet. I'm very skeptical if that on that happening. That's just my thoughts on that. But yeah, George Groves. He looks like he's back. He looks like he's solid. Of course, the he's only fighting to the level of opposition put in front of him, but he still does look good. He looks solid. And for me, he's still a match for any top super middleweight in the world. As some of us actually know, Arthur Abraham lost his belt. Gilberto Ramirez is now the WBO super middleweight champion. That could be a fight if he can. He probably have to go to the States and fight Ramirez over there. So, but that's another option. He could fight so he could fight Abraham in a final eliminator for one of the belts. Since they're both promoted by the Sauerland brothers. So there's potential options there for George Groves. Things are looking onwards and upwards for him. He's looking good. He's looking sharp. It's not so much pure explosiveness for the first round. It's the step in and the gradual explosiveness. He's bringing it by using the jab, setting everything up with a jab. He's got a world class jab, and he always has. And the more he uses it, the likelihood of him winning fights will be much higher. Um, really good fighter. Let's see where he goes from here. As I said, Martin Murray possibly next, or they'll fight after. They're talking about Callum Smith as well. That's a potential fight. There's some tough fights out there for him. There's some good fights out there for him as well. All the fights at the top level will be tough, but I'd give him a good shout in all most if not all the top super middleweights in the world, and he really does have a chance against anyone on his day. Um, David Brophy, where he goes from here, I think this fight came a bit early for him. He hasn't really had this necessary interim fights that he should have pre the George Groves fight. Let's see where he goes from here. He could possibly rebuild around British level, and then try to move up from there. See how things go for him there, and see if he can move from there. Lee Selby fought against Eric Hunter. Lee Selby actually got dropped hard in the second round. Um, as we know, he was defending his IBF featherweight title in a mandatory defense against Eric Hunter. I did actually say Eric Hunter in one of the pre-fight videos that Eric Hunter was actually pretty decent. I saw a bit of him. He looked pretty tricky with his hand speed. He had decent movement. He was competent in many different departments. And I think he showed it yesterday night. He caused Selby quite a fair few problems. Dropped him hard in the second round. I thought he should have followed up really, really, hard in that. He really should have put his foot to the pedal and try and knock Selby down again or try and force a stoppage, but he didn't. Maybe he was cautious of Selby counterpunching him, but Selby got counterpunched by Eric Hunter quite a lot yesterday. For a big guy at featherweight, for a tall, slick fighter, he got counterpunched a lot by Eric Hunter, and it did surprise me a lot actually. I was very high on Selby, I still am, but some doubts are creeping in, and I do think he might struggle with someone like Leo Santa Cruz, who has a very high, busy work rate. And he's decent. He looked very good against Abner Mares. I know Mares is very small for featherweight, but he did look really, really good against him. And for me, if he has that busy style, Eric Hunter wasn't busy. If he has that busy style, he can cause Selby a lot of problems, literally. So it's tough. I mean, I think he might do better against someone like Gary Russell Jr., who has very good hand speed, but not as great foot speed. Reminds me a bit of Adrian Broner, Gary Russell Jr., very good fighter though. I think he'd do well against someone like him. Vasyl Lomachenko definitely not. I actually thought he would give Lomachenko a few problems here and there, but I think he would struggle a lot with Lomachenko. He would definitely lose in that fight for me. Uh, Leo Santa Cruz would be a toss-up fight, depending on how he turns out. I mean, the last two fights against Montiel and Hunter showed that Selby's not invincible. He can be hit, can be tagged, and he said after in the post-fight interview that he got up, he wasn't hurt, he was hurt, and his recuperative powers were very very good. He got up and he dominated later on. It was quite wide for me, wide enough, over 4 rounds, 5 rounds, with the point deduction for Hunter. So it was comfortable enough for Selby, but there are definitely doubts there, and we have to give Hunter a bit of credit as well. He was a very very live opponent, and he gave Selby all sorts of bother, or enough bother to question Selby's next fight and question if he can actually unify successfully. Let me know your thoughts all on Lee Selby and George Groves, where they go from here. As I said, Selby could potentially unify. George Groves could go on to the big fights super middleweight, try and win a world title again. And there's potential there for both of them. Obviously, Hunter, he's an unknown, so we don't know. And David Brophy is a relative unknown as well, but he can come back to British level, being being based in the UK. So there's potential for all of them, especially the two bigger fighters, the two bigger names. Big fights on the horizon, possibly. Let me know your thoughts on that. Comment your thoughts down below. Uh, Also, please give the thumbs up if you enjoy the video, and subscribe and share so it gets out to our larger boxing audience. And we'll be covering uh, a few other fights, Macklin Rose and AJ fight, and Jamie McDonald fight. I will cover them very shortly. And yeah, anything else, tweet me, PM me, drop me a message on YouTube, whichever you feel comfortable with. Sorry. And yeah, take care, guys, and peace.